And Lisa, how you doing today?
Hey John, I am super stoked to be here and so excited to get to share some time and a little bit about my story on how I've gotten here. And I'm first want to start off by honoring you and thanking you so much for doing this,
Oh, thank you.
for taking the uncomfortable action, for doing the steps, right? And it's super awesome to see. I will get to kind of what I'm doing, but part of in my future, I have an interview series that I'm working on
Oh, nice.
for the equine industry to really talk about the state of the industry and what it looks like. So I was like, I really would like to practice some interviews.
Oh,
And I was
yeah.
thinking I should do this in the mastermind group. And I would love to. I have a lot of things on my plate. So I was like, focus, stay focused. And so when I saw you doing it, I was like, oh my God, this is so awesome. I so love that you're doing this. And like, I want to be able to add value to it. So that's why I reached out to you. I'm like, okay, come on, like this is super awesome. So I'm excited
Oh,
for
nice.
that.
And I'm excited too because see, this is where they go like, oh, you think you don't have anything to offer somebody, and then that's what you think, but then they're Dean and Tony are all, no, there's someone waiting for you for what you have. They're waiting. And so I created this, not thinking anything of it, and you're like waiting and you're like, ah, that's what I wanted. And it's like it created it and you're like on board. That's great.
Right? It's perfect. It's
Yeah, it
perfect.
is.
I love how that also works in that serendipitous way, right? So
Yes.
it's like perfect timing as well. It's like, okay, so part of what we'll talk about in my journey, as we're talking about a journey here,
Yeah.
we'll talk about that process, right? Of how do you actually get from like a idea all the way up into a vision that is then taking steps on. Like, how do you do
Right.
all the pieces? Um, First off, I'm an entrepreneur by
Nice.
nature. I think
I
I just
always have been too. I just didn't do anything about it. I bought the books way back when they had magazines, Entrepreneur, in like 1976 or something, you know? It's like, what is this?
love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I mean I remember doing I was mowing lawns for my neighbors.
Nice,
I did
nice.
pet sitting. What else did I do? So on top of being an entrepreneur, I grew up in Los Angeles to the daughter of a TV executive.
Oh, nice.
So I saw Hollywood from a kind of inside view, more on the engineering side, so a little
Okay.
bit more on the structure of it. And if I was to be found anywhere through my childhood, from the time I was like 6, well, still today,
Yeah.
I would be found at the barn because I have a passion for horses. So at 6 years old, I started riding in the backyard of this neighbor's house.
Nice.
And it was like for 30 minutes for like $5. And we would ride these little ponies around. Well, that sparked a thing that was just insane. So that has been a dictator in my life for a long time. I grew up on the West Coast doing the hunter jumper circuit, very involved in that dimension of the world. So
So
I went to
English,
college.
English style and everything?
Yes, yeah.
Because
So
it's
the
funny.
jumping.
Because my grandfather always he broke horses. He had quarter horses. He had cows. So now I'm running into all these people who are equestrians, and it's just blowing my mind. It's just I don't, and then even on my daughter's side, her grandfather had a Tennessee Walker. He had horses, and so it's all this horse stuff keeps coming. It's crazy. Isn't it?
Now that is serendipity
It
because
is.
you'll know why in a second. But okay, so I went to college. My mom was like, okay, the horses are great, but you are going to college. So I went to University of San Diego,
Nice.
um, majored in entrepreneuring and marketing. So that was kind of where I got started there. Shortly out of college, I got the intuition to go traveling around the Southern Hemisphere
Nice.
um, for like 6 months. So I was actually in the water surfing in San Diego, right, wrapping up my school. And I get this feeling like, you're gonna go travel around the world. I'm gonna what? I'm
Really?
sorry, what? You're gonna travel around the world. Okay. So I got out of the water. I actually went to the travel agency in Pacific Beach, California. I walked
Right.
in there and I said, I want to go around the world. She had a map. I said, okay. So she calls me, tickets. I left the day before September 11th.
Oh, whoa.
Okay, so I I flew out of Los Angeles with a backpack and two surfboards,
Whoa.
and I flew to Costa Rica. And um, the first that night, I woke up the next morning was 9/11. So
Oh.
I woke up in a foreign country, and the first email I got was my dad being like, "Get your ass back here," and I was like, "No,
No,
what?"
they grounded everything. So, Dad, I tried, but I couldn't.
I was like, "This is the beginning of my travel. Like, there's no way." So yeah, so I spent 6 months traveling around, made it all the way around the world, had a great time. Tons of stories on that for a different
Just
moment. But
just meeting people in hostels or just
yeah, I ran into a friend from college. I stayed at their place. I
nice.
ran into a friend from high school at one point in time. Like I met up with a couple people and just kind of traveled. I went to Costa Rica, South Africa, Thailand, Australia, New Zealand, and Fiji. So, oh,
Nice.
and Brazil in there.
Yeah, I've been to Costa Rica. That's really nice. Yeah, and I've been to Australia and not Thailand or Fiji or anything, but yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. So then I came back to like the real world and I had to like do something. So I got back into the horse world, and during that time I also had a boyfriend that was also very entrepreneurial and very smart, and we started a computer company
Oh, wow.
called Lieberman Inc. And it was or L Computers.
Like
And
software, or are you building
so we were building
hardware?
actual hardware.
Like like computers, actual computers? Like a Acer or something like that, but like a custom, like maybe
So
gaming
yeah,
or something?
so that's they were white labeled, and we were actually freezing the CPUs and overclocking systems and really had like high performance systems.
Running
Um,
like water cooling and all that stuff?
I was actually like freezing with a condenser, and
Oh,
like
you're
we were
kidding
shipping
me.
the
Like,
condensers from Europe.
whoa, so those things were totally clocked and really, yeah.
Yeah, so when that launched, we had 150,000 people hit our website overnight, and this was like in the early 2000s.
Oh
So it
yeah,
was like,
because
and
that's
I built
early.
the
That's
website,
early.
huh?
That's like internet's not internet's like modems are going D D. You're like way
we
before
we
your
started
time.
it out of this teeny little place in Venice Beach, California. Like right,
Damn.
oh my God, it
That
was
must have been
so much.
fun. And you're in Venice when it's like start. Well, it's always kind of been trippy, but I mean, then it's now it's really like. I mean, that's like a area. That's like a what's the word? When like not artsy, but you know what I'm talking about.
It's got a lot of
Renaissance. That's like Renaissance area, kind of.
yeah, it has a lot of character.
Yeah, it definitely. Yeah, a lot of t-shirt shops.
A lot of all kinds of stuff. People riding around on their rollerblades and
Yeah,
singing
back then,
songs
that's
and
yeah, in
stuff.
the early 2000s. Yeah, I had a trippy time. Yeah.
Yeah, good times. We actually like our we had this 3 screen monitor that we had as one of our products. And we hadn't really like even built it yet.
That's early
Yeah.
too. Whoa. I mean, as
And
far I'm just thinking back to because you know, I'm a little older, and I remember all this stuff and the dial-up modems and how slow the internet was, and to have multiple screens. You're at that in the early 2000s. You were like way before your time.
so it was hysterical because we had the product, like I said, we didn't actually have the product, we had the drawings of it. And the product placement from Sex and the City called us and they're like, we want that on our set for the last season.
Oh my
And
God.
I'm like on the phone driving to the office and I'm talking to her. Okay, sure, yeah, no problem. All right. So I walk in the office, I'm like, oh no, we gotta build one of these like ASAP because
Hey, wait, are
they
these
got one.
CRTs? Are these CRT screens?
Yeah, so like
There
the
was no
regular,
LEDs. These are like regular old TVs with the freaking cathode ray tube. I mean, the big
oh
ass
no,
box.
it had the LED. No, it was the LEDs. It was
Oh,
like easier. So what we did was we went to Fry's and we got the panels, like we
yeah,
bought a bunch of monitors,
right.
pulled the panels, and then I called up my good friend Paul and I was like, dude, we need to like use your shop because they did a lot of metal and magnets.
We need to make a
And
case.
so they built the case.
I love it.
Sent two guys with it like on a freaking airplane to New York to set it up on the studio. It was,
That's awesome.
oh my God, it was insane.
And
So
if I go to like Sex in the City, like find the scene, I can see that thing.
yeah, you can find it. It was definitely in plenty of shots.
Oh,
Some
cool.
in the office, like
Nice.
so, and that like that company, we were when we launched, and then within 3 months, we were on the cover of Maximum PC magazine.
Wow.
So that was like this total chaotic, crazy year. We made over $1 million in sales in the first year out
Nice.
of this teeny little thing. I also learned a lot of lessons.
Oh,
They
yeah.
talk about in Tony Robbins' Business Mastery, they talk about your the tax, your learning tax, or how much you paid for your education.
Oh, yeah.
This company also educated me in some pretty tough ways.
Oh, yeah. I bet.
As yeah, my business partner turned out to be not such a great business partner.
Right.
And actually, whole nother story, stole money in cash by forging my name
Oh, no.
out of a bank account.
Ouch.
Yeah, so it ended up like, that's a way longer story, but it was a really, it ended up with me testifying at the SEC and like how the story went and what happened. And it was just a crazy learning experience. It definitely impacted my life in so many ways. And I would say that actually, along with a few other things, like kind of like really hit my my esteem at that point in time, right?
Right. Kind of wore you down.
So I kind of bumbled through my 20s and 30s and kind of like ups and downs. And my significant other is bipolar. We had been together for already like 9 years or six, I think 6 or 9 years by the first time he had a manic episode. And so it was a lot of things went on in that time period. And then we were having so then after that, I did a couple of things like, I don't know, I was a massage therapist at one point in time.
Yeah.
At a spa in Hollywood.
Like actors and stuff. Okay.
Yeah. And it was a joke because I never paid attention because my dad was in the industry. And I just never paid attention to the like like to me it was just
who they were.
Everybody is, right?
Yeah.
So they would walk into the spa and I'd work on people and they would like, it was a joke because everybody would be like, do you know who that was? And I was like,
no.
They're like, no way.
But they're really tense. That's all I know. But hey, one time on an airplane, well, actually, so I met up with Tony Robbins really early, like in like '89 or something, and went to Unlimited Power, and then they had a seminar, and it was in Hawaii for like 9 days at the big, huge resort, and it was really nice. And was it flying? Yeah, I think it was flying home. This guy's behind me, I'm in first class, and the guy's behind me, and I fell asleep during the movie, so I'm all, hey, how'd the movie end? He's telling me and stuff. It was Jerry Garcia. I didn't even like, I'm all like, somebody's all like, hey, you know who that is? I'm all, no, he's really nice though. It's Jerry Garcia.
It was really chill though.
Yeah, he's really chill. And then I realized I'm all, oh, you look pretty good in that last video. It was like,
I love it.
It was funny.
I love it. So yeah, I kind of, after that, I got back into horses.
Nice.
And I was actually working as an agent, or I had a sales barn in California where I'd have clients send me horses that were for sale, and then I would, organize them and find buyers. I then, after that, I was also kind of blending the computer industry stuff with the horse stuff. So I was building websites for different barns and businesses in the horse industry, and kind of, doing some design work as well. And then in the sales, I noticed pretty quickly, like I couldn't manage more than a few horses at a time. And I was working on getting not so much having to ride as much, but more organizing the sales. So I decided I needed to build a database.
Okay.
to allow me to match up horses what were for sale
Oh, like
and
a
what.
Craigslist for horses?
So kind of actually more like a Match.com for
Oh,
horses,
oh,
like
like
what we're
swipe left,
describing,
swipe right?
almost in that sense, right?
Oh, we need to talk later.
So, so I started that, and I didn't actually even know how to build the database, so I went and like figured it out. I started on some low code platforms, and I started with like Caspio, and then or those were no code at the time,
Right.
and I just kept at it. And I had the database built enough, and it was working, and I was starting to sell horses. And then the biggest thing that would happen was because I was in California. And the industry is very interesting, the horse
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah.
And in California, the hunter jumper world is on that side of like the Rockies, it's pretty secluded, right? Because it's like harder to get the horses, like it just takes
Oh,
it's
oh,
opened
got
up
you.
way more now, but back then it was a lot more like there was the East Coast and West Coast pretty much.
Right. Yeah.
And
Like rap, right?
yeah, so so I would find like all these really nice horses that were for sale. And I would have
Oh,
people call me and be like, hey, I need a junior hunter. And
uh-huh.
so these horses are selling for like $150,000.
Whoa.
Right. So they're like, I've got this budget. I am looking for this, this, and this. And I'd say, okay, well, there's these, this, and this in California. And then be like, yeah, no, because people in California don't buy from each other. It's kind of
Uh,
like a joke. You could actually send a horse to the East Coast, and somebody in California might buy it and ship it back.
oh, really? There's a kind of
It's a
okay.
it's it's a funny
It's
thing.
very
It's
clicky. It sounds very clicky.
no, it's not really that reason. I think it's more because the shows there are so much more like everybody is seeing the same horses all the time because
Oh,
it's
I
kind of
got
like
you.
such an influx.
Okay.
So they really are like, no, I know that horse. Like I want a new horse. So
Oh
that's kind of
yeah, yeah.
how,
I've seen that horse for the last whatever couple
yeah,
shows, and I want something new. Yeah. Nice.
yeah. So
Okay.
I don't think it's really. I think it just kind of sets up that way.
Yeah, I could see that where you know, it's like you keep seeing the same horse. You're like, no, I want to bring a new horse in. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I was like, okay. And I would find horses on the East Coast. And I had people be like, okay, that's great. So do you actually know the person that we're buying it from in person? And I was like,
No.
no, I don't.
But I can call him and become friends with him.
No. So I was like, I have to go meet all these freaking people. Like, I'm
Oh,
going to go do this. So I, in 2016, left California
okay.
and I did the nomadic lifestyle with the laptop
Oh,
with my significant other, the horse, and the dog across the country, and we traveled to all of the different horse shows.
oh.
And I networked with as many people as I could, like as I was building the sales network. So, and that was going along pretty well, actually.
Sounds like it would. Did you like set up a
Yeah.
table at the show or something, and then you could start saying, "Here's the opportunity," or you just started meeting in person everybody?
So I started utilizing pretty early on the ability to SMS text.
Okay.
And I would set it up so that a lot of it was set up through the database, like response was through the text
Oh,
message.
got you.
And a lot of it would be my communication between the buyer and seller because I was working as an agent
Mm-hmm.
and working to make it very clear like how the deal was happening as well. Because there's sometimes there's a little bit of malarkey that goes on in the horse industry, and I'm
Is that
about
why they call them
ethical.
horse traders? That's
Sometimes they don't really have a good reputation. Now, ain't that the
that
truth?
old saying from the West, you know. But I mean, like I was thinking, like you setting up escrow accounts and all that kind of stuff, and or
So
no?
I hadn't gotten to the escrow account part. I was more building the software side of it.
Oh, so you weren't totally responsible to make sure the deal went right, and if it didn't go right, they'd come after you.
Yeah, no,
You were
I
just
didn't
like, hey,
have
I know somebody that has a horse, and I can introduce you guys.
right. So it was more on like a referral, almost more like an affiliate kind of, right?
Yeah,
Like
and
really
were
type
you
of
getting
affiliate.
paid like commission or?
Yeah. So it was like a
Okay, nice,
percentage. Yeah.
nice.
So um so that was happening. And at the time that like I'm trying to, so now I'm like, okay, I gotta like up my game on the database, right? Of like
Yeah.
proving that it works, next version. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try some like something else. So Zoho is a company that shows up and they're like, yeah, we're going to have this app and we can do the things and all that. So I like learned how to Zoho this whole thing, rebuild. I like locked myself in a camper for like 3 months and rebuild this whole thing. And that I launched that, and that's going well. Except for at the same time, my significant other had a massive, like, we had finally hit the door of the manic episode.
Right.
So we had separated for a little while, and it was like very tough time as well. Like I didn't know. I'm like, I've got this business, I've got to work on this. Like I don't know exactly what direction it's going. And I was scrolling through the Facebook, and this guy named Brendan Bouchard.
I think I know him.
So he's got this book, The Motivation Manifesto, and he's like, I'm gonna give this to you if you just pay shipping.
Right.
Like, that's an irresistible offer if I've ever heard one.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. So I get this book, and I read the book, and that book freaking changed my life.
So I need to read that book then.
Oh, read the book. It's phenomenal. He wrote it in like this rad rhetoric, and it's so great. I'm so, yes, read the book. I highly recommend it to anybody. That's got me into personal development. I will also say I got to go back a little bit. My mom was I think my mom was like an actual angel on this earth. Like, oh,
nice.
She was just a phenomenal person. And she passed away in 2009 from pancreatic cancer. Actually, roughly around the same time that Brendan's dad passed away, and under roughly like very quick circumstances. It was kind of like when I hear that part of the story, I'm like, oh wow, that's crazy.
I mean, and you were younger then, or I mean, young. Of course you were. How old were you?
So I can't remember right at the moment. I'm not very good with the numbers on the spot, but it was in 2009. So how many years ago that was? 13, 14 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, well, like, my wife passed away, and so my daughters were like early 20s, mid 20s. Okay. Yeah, so kind of like that, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I can talk on that for a long time, but she was my mom was a trauma counselor. She had grown up
before PTSD and trauma, okay.
So she had grown up in a alcoholic home and was the youngest of 5. And that family started changing that curse on the history line, like on the family line.
Right, they ended it there. They're like, this is it, last generation, no more.
So my mom, like, early on got involved in Al-Anon.
Okay.
And so by the time I was 11, she's got my ass in Al-Anon. You're sharing your stuff here. So I grew up, like, we would go to like the conventions, and I did all the Alateen, like all of that. And I even remember meeting her sister and her sister's husband at one of the big conventions in like Seattle. And we had this RV, and we went all, like, it was just so. My mom was very involved in that.
Nice.
And through that time, she also, like, when I was in college, she went back to school, and she got a master's in psychology. And that's where she went on to doing like the therapy and the trauma stuff. Like, as I was a kid, she actually she took care of, she had a daycare in the house when I was growing up.
Right.
So she would have all these kids come to the house. My mom would take care of them. She was amazing. When she passed away, like, I used to think she was always going to all these Al-Anon meetings, right? But when she passed away, everybody that showed up was like, oh yeah, Anne was like my like biggest supporter. She showed up at my wedding. She showed up at my
wow.
She was at everybody's everything.
That's awesome.
I mean, I didn't realize she was such a saint. She was like, so I have big shoes to fill. It's like, oh my goodness, okay. Mom. And I was like, I remember when she was sick, I was like, I would go in your place, Mom. My son would go in your place. She's like, no, Lisa, you have bigger things to do here. I was like, ah.
That's so cool.
Oh gosh. So anyway, Brendan's book, I read this.
Yeah.
Stuart, my other half, he actually gets some help in really awesome program in Santa Barbara, California, called Sanctuary Centers. So they deal with a lot of mental illness, and he learned amazing tools at that.
Nice,
Like that
nice.
was at the same time, it was like it was a 90-day program. We're still connected with them. Like he did it, it's a game changer for him
Oh,
because he
nice.
finally because I had gone with him to all of his appointments and stuff, and like there really wasn't that much resources. People really didn't talk about what was happening, right? Like what was really like, so all that I've learned and we've learned came through like trial and error and then those programs. So
And that's awesome because there's so many people that would be value to them that are suffering with that.
super. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's especially like not knowing, it's funny because I always say like I used to treat like when I met people, I treat everybody like they were all normal. And so
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what I thought normal was.
Yeah,
Like
we all have our
I
own
think my
idea.
own reality.
Yeah, right. One day we find out, hey, I wasn't normal. One day you become aware and you go, oh, that wasn't normal. You know, when you become
Right?
aware that you're what you thought was normal, like, wait, that wasn't normal, really?
Like, oh, they don't experience the same thing I do.
Yeah, yeah, like
Interesting.
I realized that I could easily make up stories about what I think other people think or like I
Right.
know everything that's going on when I don't even know the story and then I'm all, wait, everybody else doesn't do that? You guys don't do that? And they're like, uh-uh. I'm all, oh.
Right? But that's the power of community, right? That's the
It
power of
is.
like having these conversations
It
too, right? It's
is.
like you start to see, oh, okay, that isn't normal, but that is. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
All
point me
right.
to normal, please.
And well, and so I'm still not really sure what that is, other than I expect most people have some sort of mental thing going on because it's the human condition.
Oh, oh no, they
We do.
do. And I was seeing it in the group. It was eye-opening to me, like, oh, everyone struggles with procrastination. Everybody's feeling the same things. Everyone's feeling like I can't stand it. I can't make a video. It's hard because I don't want to see my voice or I mean, see my face or hear my voice. I'm all, we're all the same. I'm not special. Just do it. Quit,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. And to that, um, let me tell the story a little bit and I'll tell
Yeah.
you. Ian was a huge influencer in my thought process on that. So I'm gonna like explain that in a second. But so all this happens, Stuart comes back. I'm still working on some personal development stuff. I and then working on the horse sales. I've got quite a bit going on with that. And I'm thinking, okay, Stuart actually says to me one day, he goes, you know what? I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. I was still kind of like, I'm still like, I'm a little lost. I'm not.
Right.
And he goes, you know what you should do? You should do what your mom did. And she was a counselor, right? And I was
Yeah.
like, he's like, because you already do it. So you should probably do it and get paid. And I was like, and he goes, but I don't think you should go be a psychologist. I think you should do the stuff that you listen to with Brendan
Oh,
and you should help people that way.
be a
Because
coach.
it's way more in like your like way, right? I'm like, okay. So 2019 happens, that happens at the end of 2019. And I have a bunch of horses. I'm in Wellington at the horse show when COVID happens.
Uh,
And my plan had been to sell all of the horses and take that money and then go to get certified by Brendan
oh,
at his certification.
okay.
But of course, COVID happens and it's like, all
Yeah.
right, well, what are we going to do? And I was like, well, we kind of liked Ocala. Like, let's go back to Ocala, Florida and like hang out. So we come back, hang out. And I'm still struggling, right? I'm really struggling, like what direction I'm writing, I'm doing a lot of stuff. And then I'm once again on the Facebooks and there's this like challenge with Tony Robbins.
Right, right.
And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna listen to this. So I sit down, I do the things, and I'm like, yes, this is what I need. Like this is it. Like I'm on page. I'm totally in. So I did that challenge. Then I did UPW right after that. And that was his first virtual event. And honestly, the event changed my life.
Right. Cool.
It removed, remember when I said I had a lot of things that kind of like kicked me down at the time in the
Yeah.
company and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff?
Yeah.
That event and the process that he walked you through literally like took this entire like weight that was on my shoulders and like
Oh,
psh,
you
gone.
released it. Yeah. Cool.
Game changer,
It wasn't your story anymore because you were probably going around
right?
telling everybody how this thing happened to you, and everybody you met heard your story. And that's how I was when I went to I had gotten divorced and I went to these Tony Robbins things, and we broke off in groups, and I kept telling me the same story, like my same sob story, until I couldn't hear it anymore. I got tired and I said, I'm not saying this anymore. And
Right.
and the other weird thing that you just brought up that just came to me is when I met Jerry Garcia in that plane, I had this journal that I had bought, and he signed it, and he wrote to John, Thrive. And then the thing that I went into this last time that kicked me off was that Thrive conference.
Right.
That's crazy.
I love this. This is awesome. See, I love the serendipity. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Amazing. So then I did Tony's business mastery.
Okay.
And for anybody that's an entrepreneur, have a business,
Yeah.
interested in business, it is so worth every freaking dime
Really?
because I learned more in that 5 days than I did in college. Like,
Really?
and I mean like tactics. Like I learned stuff in college, but I learned about widgets and it really didn't have much passion to it. And it wasn't like, and then the other like example of business I had in my life was horse sales. And we already
Okay.
talked about how nice horse sales was, right? So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, I've got this like weird thing of like, I don't really like selling. I'm not really like, I'm struggling. Like, I don't know what to do.
Right.
Business mastery, raving fans, how you add more value to the marketplace than anybody else. Tony and what he teaches was like, oh, got it.
Wow.
So from that was born the vision of, or like the seed was planted, I should say.
Yeah.
The idea was planted for the media company that I'm launching,
Oh,
which is the Dark Horse Project.
oh, it's a media company.
So with the mission of empowering visions through collaboration and education. Because today's community is tomorrow's world. And I really want to actually like, the whole thing comes from my passions, bringing it together, and community, and adding value back to my mentors. So Brendan, Tony, Dean. And let me go back to the thing about Dean, because I wanted to show that part real fast. But Dean was the first person, like after listening to those two events or attending those two events,
Yeah.
I started putting as much good stuff in my ears as possible, right? I was like, I just gotta hear. And so Dean was the first voice when I knew this was the first time I knew this was actually working.
Oh, wow.
It was the first time I didn't say something negative to myself. I heard Dean say something positive, and I was like, whoa, I didn't have a
Oh.
negative thought to start with. Like, this is actually freaking possible. You can actually change this stuff. All right. Like that was, and it was his voice. So it was rad to have that. Like that was, it's worth listening. Keep listening. Keep putting the good stuff in your ears. So then also with all of this, I would say my journey to get to where I am today
Yeah.
is also Brendan's Growth Day. So it's an app.
Right.
And they go live a lot. There's live scores in there. So you can actually, because he wrote the book High Performance Habits, also a great book.
Okay.
And it's really teaching like how to sustain your energy and like momentum and progress over the long term. You're not
Right.
like burning out and you're like,
Right.
because, you know, and the thing is, the most of us are so freaking tired, we don't even realize it. So we're running on burnout, which is like only causing negative thoughts, which is only causing negative, actions, which is only causing negative results.
Right.
So it's when you start shifting, and that's what Tony talks about, is that cycle, right? So like the success cycle, is it going up? And so learning how to take those little steps to like make sure I'm tuning into the lives, make sure I'm part of the mastermind community, make sure I'm doing the things,
You
like
have to
do the
stay
parts.
connected in this group, and the whole group moves along.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
crazy, and
Yeah.
everybody's elevating everybody.
Yeah.
I started doing videos. People started doing videos. I start seeing people do lives. Okay, I got to do live. Okay, master class. Okay, so but people were doing that. Okay, so I got to do master class. Everyone's a coach. I'm not a coach, and then I'm all damn. I'm a coach. I've been a coach, and this is tripping me out because, okay, so you're like a networker too, and so am I. It's like I'm a connector. Like, hey, I know these people over here, and okay, I'm gonna connect. You're doing a media company, and in my head, I am too, because I'm a huge promoter. I've been saying that. I'm a promoter. I gotta tell everybody. I've always been that guy. Like, oh, look, I found this product. You gotta try it. It's the best. Not just because it was who I was or who I am. And there's another woman that I interviewed. Did you see Alex? The
I don't know if I saw that one.
um, she's
Yes.
doing a marketing company. The same thing. She's in Canada. So it's a media company. So same thing. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, we're forming connections. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really fun. I love the process. You know, Brendan talks about honoring the struggle
Yeah,
and learning how to really like bring the joy and do all of the like and actually doing those steps, right? So it's like I would say if I was going to give what are like the main things that have helped me get to where I am, because the vision that I have that's been building
mm-hmm.
um, is very large, and it has a online platform that is built in its MVP fashion and is also ready to rock and roll to help support the
Nice,
industry.
nice.
And there's a bunch of content that is in the works to start being able to actually publish. So that's why I wanted to do the interview, because one of the biggest things I want
Yeah.
to do is interview in the equine industry about the state of the industry and what's going on. So I was like,
Oh, this is awesome. And my whole thing is I wanted to do like YouTube, which I do like a Tim Ferriss, or I like all those guys, you know. And to me I love that, you know, just interviewing people and just hearing their stories, but I'm always gathering knowledge.
yes,
And then I'm sharing it. I've always done that. Like, hey, did you see this? And this is awesome. I love this. This is
I
really
love it.
fun.
Yeah, so I see the vision of the project that I've been
Mm-hmm.
working on. It's called the Dark Horse Project because it's named after the idea of a dark horse.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's like the racehorse that comes from the back of the race and nobody knew about, that like
Right.
wins the race, or the
Right.
politician that wasn't
Mm-hmm.
expected to win but wins. And it's kind of like the fight for the underdog as well, you know, and
Dude, are we
like
the same? That's my whole thing. I've been trying to pull everybody out because I'm totally for the underdog. It's like I see you. I've been there. I know you. Come out. Oh, it's
and and I love the entrepreneur. I love the entrepreneur spirit. I love the individuality and the creativity and bringing those pieces together. And as a connector, this is one like when you
right.
say you're a connector, I so love that about you. And I was like, yes, this is why I was like, gotta go like honor him by like help adding value to this, because
Well, you're a connector too.
it's
Awesome.
it's just in my blood. It's my calling.
It
It really is
is.
just the way things are.
I used to work in in these healing rooms, and people would come in, and we would just like they'd write something down, and we just would hold it, and then just pray for them, and I would like see them and draw them out, you know, and
Okay.
call them. I could see their who they were inside and call it forward. And then I've been saying that the trippy thing is that like God flipped it on me, where all of a sudden he was calling me. I was seeing myself and
Yeah.
calling myself forward. Where it was that's what's happened, and I'm all like, whoa, this is weird because yeah, it's the
Yeah.
trip.
And I really want to encourage anybody that has like that's a visionary to, if you even if you don't know exactly, like it's really funny because probably was 2018, 2019. I wanted to start like a YouTube channel, right?
Yeah.
and I want to start about empowerment. And I made a
Right,
video and I shot it and I get done and I'm like, okay, so I'm going to talk about empowerment. And it was so funny because I turn it off and I'm like, I have no idea how to do that. At the time, I didn't have enough of the tools.
right.
So I was like, it's so funny because I like could now go back and use that video and be like, starting today, be like, so it took a few years
No, that's
to
a
get to
common
mastery level.
story. That's a common story because they're like, it's not good enough. Oh, I need the editing software. Oh, I need to study how to do Photoshop. Oh, I need to, and and like I keep saying in my story, and I want people to realize this. I just grabbed my phone and started making videos because I told somebody I was going to make a video a day. And that's one of those early ones when there's John taking uncomfortable action because it was. And
I
then
love
now
that.
it's all, hey, John here. And then it's just morphed. And
Yes,
and it's just do it because you learn so quick when you do it. And when you know.
yes.
Yeah, I was
And
thinking today they said the law of attraction, but nobody talks about the law of action. And without the law of action, there's you can't sit in the corner and expect that you're going to attract things to you. But when you take action, these doors open, like the interview with you, and people just start coming in, and you're like, you start forming all these connections, and you're like,
mhm,
whoa, you had no clue, but you took action. You're moving, and as you're
yes,
moving, you're meeting people. You
yes,
can't do that when
yeah.
you're sitting alone.
The power of momentum, right? The power
Yes,
of momentum is
exactly.
like
You have to
crucial.
do something.
Yeah, and the power of intention, I think, is also. So I think
It
that
is.
that's where along the process. So because I am one of those people that does go learn like how to do the things. I mean, kind of an unfair advantage. I did say my dad was a TV executive. I kind of had cameras in my face for since I
Yeah,
was I,
yeah.
this is to me, and I've kind of had the computer, so there's like a slight unfair advantage of like the tech is fine for me.
Hmm.
Um, I think it was also more the process of being like, okay, I know I want to empower people, but at the time I was like, I'm not even sure I know how to lead myself,
Oh
right?
no,
So it was like
this whole process
learning.
forces you to fix your shit. Sorry, but it does because you can't do it otherwise. You're like you have to get over all these hurdles first because you can't do it if you don't. It's forcing you to.
Unfortunately, your poor behavior is not going to get those results. So
No, and it's not going to get those for someone else too. If you're not there, you can't get them where you're not.
100%, yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
crazy.
And so I love I really love the culture of progress, right? I love
Right.
that Dean talks about that all the time and how he's always bringing the culture of progress and like it really is one step, two step, three steps.
Hmm.
Ow, I just stubbed my toe. Fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
But
yeah,
you
it's
know
all
what?
learn.
And it's like it's a little bit of the all right, I gotta nurse that back to health. All right, step, 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 right? Because it's
Yeah.
like and I think that's something that is really cool when the awareness of the mindset actually starts to, you start hearing better things in your head.
Oh,
You
yeah, that's
start
huge.
saying better things. You
That
get
that's
farther along. Yeah.
that's what I started with. It was going to be like I was cracking up because first it was going to be like, oh, the art of play in don't in procrastination, just play like when you were a kid, right? And then like that more, and then that morphed to self-talk. Be aware of what you're saying, and you won't let somebody treat you worse than you treat yourself. So as you elevate your inner voice, you're like, you're not treating me like that anymore because I don't talk to
Yes.
me like that. And
Yeah.
and then it was that step, and then it was then this whole thing's morphed in for me to Project You, that everyone's a project you, that you're born and you're the project, and it doesn't, whatever you do doesn't really matter because the basic whole project is you, and everything you do is for that project, and and you learn along the way. And I don't have an end that I'm going when I get there. It's just I'm just enjoying that I'm walking this journey. It's really fun.
Yes. Yeah. The journey starts to get really fun when you get a little bit of momentum. I would say like
Right,
the hardest
exactly,
part is that
exactly.
first like couple steps, right?
Yes, that's it.
And and for anybody that like struggles with that, I say just keep listening.
Right.
Go put Tony, Brendan, Dean,
Yeah.
Jamie Lima, Jenna, like all the people that are on this, like get them in your ears.
Right, right.
Like, so the biggest things that have helped me is the reading. Tony challenges everybody to read. I read 20 minutes every day this year.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, I'm doing that now because I
And
started
I,
scheduling my time, and that's been huge. Like,
okay, I love this. So I try to read first thing in the morning. So I use
okay,
like ozonated water. So I have to turn it on. It takes like 30 minutes, right? So I turn the water on. I wake up, turn the water on. I grab the book. I sit down and I read.
nice,
And getting my brain just reading helps me so much because, and I'm reading stuff that's like positive. Actually, I'm finishing up Tony's book, Life Force, right now.
nice.
I
Oh,
read that this morning.
I did the audiobook.
Okay, awesome. It's a,
Yeah. The audiobook's not is is probably like 10 cassette tapes, whatever those things are. But
it would have
anyway,
been a lot of things. Yep. So and this is like his newest book, the Life Force one. So that one is like big too.
yeah.
So yeah, it's just it's awesome.
Oh, it is. So that's
The
huge.
reading.
I need the reading. That's good. I'm gonna
So
do that.
the reading in the mornings really helped me with like getting my mindset right
Right.
because I don't just start on whatever loop I have, right? So like I don't because sometimes the problem is I think the loop when you get up, you're like,
Mm-hmm.
so also in the reading, I read like books that are recommended. So like The Magic of Believing is one that Tony recommended. So I read that and it's like, oh, and it's how to like program the subconscious mind, right? The power Thinking Grow Rich, Power
Yeah.
of Positivity. There's like
Right.
all of these books that I keep like reading and listening to. If I'm not, and when I clean stalls every day because I have horses.
Yeah.
When I do that, I'm listening to stuff as well. So it's like
That's
those
awesome.
are those are like major things that help. And then like I said, growth pay really helped a lot with my like it gives you like a stability, right? Brendan actually does an audio in that every morning.
Okay.
And it's literally like having Brendan Bouchard as your freaking coach.
Okay. So I gotta do that too. I've seen it. I just haven't got the habit of doing it.
It's so worth it. It's so amazing, right? It's like that's why I stay with my really good rhythm. Like I watch Dean on Monday morning. I get on the inner circle. And that's what's really helped. I mean, it's
Oh,
really
it's
gotten me
huge.
to where I am today. I mean,
Yeah, you just keep that momentum going. It's just crazy. It's just you got to keep that positive stuff because otherwise, people go, "Oh, you're into this positive whatever." It's all okay. Let's be real. 90% or 80% more, they're into this negative thinking, and they think that the positive one doesn't work, but they ignore that that negative one's just spiraling them down like every day, and they know it too, but they won't think that the opposite is true. You know?
so yeah, I guess that goes back to the ego, right? It becomes like it's hard to like let go of like, no, but I'm right. Really? Like,
Yeah.
how many people have been here in this world? Like, you gotta be that right, huh? Okay. Yeah. So
Well,
we've got better things to do with life. Let's build some cool stuff and collaborate with people. Like
right, and
focus
it's fun. I was
power.
watching this film, and he said that, everyone has like their, oh, when this happens, then everything will be perfect. And this guy who is a movie star or whatever said he got everything on his screen that his picture was perfect, right? All the money, that whatever. And he said it was the emptiest place he's ever been.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happens. And you don't live, you go, I'll live when I get this, instead of just doing the journey and enjoying it. You're like, when I get the money, then I'll do everything. When I get this, and then you get everything and nothing, and you're lonely and lost, and you're like, it's just enjoy the journey. It's so fun.
Yeah,
Keep
I
the
think
momentum going and just roll.
and the journey of being an entrepreneur, you're like, I love the alternative education space, right? I love the space of mastermind and
Hmm.
the education side of it. And it's just it's so much fun to be creative and to be able to take that creativity to positively impact others and
Right.
to see like everybody grow, right? Like the rising tide raises all boats.
Yes,
And you
exactly.
see it, and it's taking that role model mindset and being like, okay, well, they're all watching me anyway. So
Right.
either I'm gonna like behave in a way that's positive for all of us or
Right.
negative for all of us. And it's really just starting that and realizing like you do have a lot more impact than you know.
Oh yeah.
you impact, and you're leading and coaching yourself. You're leading and coaching those around you,
Yeah.
and you are impacting this world. And if you take the responsibility, you start doing it in a positive way, right? And you're allowed to, and it shows you there's so much value in everybody, right? That's the whole thing of like the idea of the collaboration, like the
There
idea
is.
of the business and the media company is really to bring people together
That's
and
awesome.
to hold and create spaces. So there's like some physical locations in it, and then it's also a global community. And
Nice.
it's really to like support the personal development space, the alternative education space, and to help people get their voices out on like a social platform that is not
Right.
the current social platforms that we have that are
Right.
run by some intense algorithms, right? So it's a platform that is built so that it's built for the collaboration and built for that aspect, and like doing the content. One of the biggest things I really want to do about a movie about the horse that won the Kentucky Derby, the Rich Strike.
Like recently, like
Yeah, the Rich Strike horse, because he was like the dark horse.
well, which
He
one did
was like the horse nobody knew about, Rich Strike. So nobody knew about him, and he like was not even going to get into the race, right? He was like with like 30 minutes before the final cutoff, and the horse scratches, so he gets in,
Oh, really?
and yeah, and he ends up winning with crazy odds. And like that was happening as I'm building the company. I'm like, oh my gosh, I so want to do like
That
the story, because that's like the
that's
dark horse story.
that's crazy because they did the one where I can't think of which horse it was, but it won the
Maybe like the Secretariat or something.
secretary when it I want to say trifecta, but what is it? That's the no when the three races or whatever, you know,
Oh, the Triple Crown.
the Triple Crown, and it was like her dad had this horse, and she was a woman, and they all looked down on her.
Right.
It's not Man of War. I can't think of the name of the horse, but yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So the and the thing is that the horses have been like a huge part of my life, right? So I currently have a horse named Lexi, but I would call her the Moose.
Moose.
She's a big warm blood. She's almost 17 hands,
Oh
and
wow, that's huge.
she's a very intense alpha mare horse. She's amazing. I learned so much from her. It's ridiculous. And then she has a little mascot, and that's the Mini, and his name's Charlie.
Oh,
And Charlie, I think, is going to share the heart of the horse with the rest of the world. So that's the kind of the vision of the media company. He's the mascot. Actually, they're both the mascot, right? Like,
right.
can't have one without the other. But the Mini should be able to go with me places. So when I'm either speaking engagements or to just kind of share the horse
Mm-hmm.
with the rest of the world, and really, because I think that they're such a good example. They work so much in mental health. They do a lot
They
with
do.
them.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah. So even with physical disabilities, and they really, they're just amazing creatures. You learn leadership skills, you learn empathy, you learn how to communicate, you learn boundaries, you learn all the good things.
And
Um,
and they sense, they know like if you're scared or whatever or
they're telepathic. They know things. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
you know they'll like kind of rub you against the fence maybe or something when
Oh
you're riding.
yeah.
They do all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, you know.
Oh yeah. They're smart. They're very keen. They're prey animals that live in a herd, right? So they have their alpha, the
Kind of
omega,
like
they
wolves and
have all
stuff.
of the pieces, right? And
Like
they operate that way.
wow,
You
I never
learn
thought
how to
that.
operate with them that way. So when I
I
say my mare is an alpha mare, she's an intense creature, and
yeah.
it's her idea or it's her idea. Or she thinks it's her idea. No, that's better. She thinks it's her idea.
No, no, that's what she says about you.
Well, but isn't that the truth, right? Like the animals. So it's so funny because my significant other is bipolar, like I mentioned, and it is not living with somebody that's bipolar is not for the faint of heart. I will tell you that.
No.
It is not a simple project. He is doing amazing these days, and it's amazing to watch him be able to see how it works and understand it. So it's just like it's an incredible thing. But we had a dog. She passed away earlier this year, but the dog we had for like 15 years. And
Hmm.
that was a Catahoula. So if you know anything about Catahoulas, they're from Louisiana and they're like boar hunting dogs. And
Oh,
so they vie for alpha and they work in packs.
like plot hounds or plute hounds?
Similar, yeah, and intense, right? So that dog was alpha and the horse is alpha. So I deal with some pretty intense individuals in my life. And I was like, they're teaching me how to be alpha. They're teaching me how to be
Yeah, definitely.
I wasn't really tough. I was like, I kind of lived in my own bubble of like, I just ride horses and that's great.
Oh,
Anyway,
that's just awesome. And I love your story. It's great. It's just
thank you.
it's
Yeah,
and I see like so much of like me like oh like this
I
whole
love
thing,
it.
like I said, just doing these was and everything I've done in here is just to connect people and to say, hey, did you see this? Did you see that? And just share
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and and meet and have people meet. I'm always like, oh, you need to meet my friend this, you need to meet my friend that, you guys are the same, you guys need to, exchange ideas.
yes.
It's
I love it.
and it's huge. I get joy out of that. It's like fun.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
like it feels so, and that's the thing is like it took me a little while to like navigate or master, I would say, on the personal development side, like the habits that I put in place, the things that I did, and now I've gotten to a place where I feel like there's good momentum, the mindset, you keep going. Of course, there's still obstacles, but it's like
Yes.
it keeps and the vision. So I like had the idea, then it was a vision, then I'm like, okay, this is a big vision. All right, now how do you keep the vision and then how do you start building it?
Right. That's awesome.
And so and it was funny, I was talking to somebody yesterday and she was like, how did you keep all of this organized? And I was like, I use a software that keeps a lot of the projects organized in my notes. I journal like a lot. There's a lot of brainstorming sessions
Yeah.
and um it is so clear. Like, so that's where like as somebody that's a visionary,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you might have an idea, but you're like struggling to get others around you to be able to like see it,
See the
right? So you're
vision?
like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're like, I gotta do this. And they're like, well, she thinks she's gonna do that. Like, what is she even doing? Right.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of people that feel that way sometimes with me. They're like, what exactly are you doing? So if you're a visionary, I want to like encourage you to like just keep doing the things. Put the content out. I have a challenge up on Mastermind, like do those steps, keep doing the steps, but
Right.
don't lose sight of like the North Star, the why. Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
What is the purpose?
Right.
Why are we? And that's what I love. So if you guys are listen to in Mastermind, you have the Tony's RPM
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
or the time of your life course that just got released. It talks about his RPM
Mm-hmm.
way of keeping things organized. I utilize that all the time.
Oh, I need
And
that.
it really helps me stay very clear on like where I'm going and then give me ways to get it done and really be able to like keep that North Star, take the step, do the hard action, do the next thing, celebrate. Wait, we got to remember to celebrate. Don't forget that part. Not kind of like I'm just gonna like sweep it under the rug. No, no, no. We gotta celebrate.
Okay, I need to celebrate. I just came to my head. I need to celebrate.
It's super important, right?
Yeah.
Brendan talks about all the time. It's like if you're not registering the win, if you're not acknowledging what you're winning, you're not putting them in the bag. So they're
That's
just like
right.
you don't even remember. You're
Right.
like, I think I did something last week, but I can't remember.
And I got pieces of paper written everywhere with all kinds of ideas everywhere. I wake up in the middle of the night with these ideas. I mean, most of
Beautiful.
a lot of them are I'm working on. They're there, but some
Yeah.
of them were like things to write and things to say. They're on pieces of paper and they're scattered.
Yep.
I got to get them
It's okay.
together.
It's okay. You wrote them. You don't necessarily need that piece of paper
I'll find
anymore.
it. I might find it in a year, and that's when I need it.
Well, so No, legit things happen like amazingly. Like literally there'll be it's just it happens that way all the time, right? And I that's the serendipity for me that is just so much fun, right? That
Right.
is part of being a creative and listening and being like called, led, all of the pieces and open to knowing like, okay, I want to add value to this world.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do the best that I can. What is the best that I can do? How
Right.
do I really take a moment and think like, how do I show up the best I can show up? Right? It's like it's
Right.
not about how they show up, or like how,
No,
and then even in the moments when it's struggle, right? Even if I'm having a bad moment, it's like, okay, how do I show up? Like it's a choice. It's a choice, Lisa. Don't forget.
it is. And and I know this about me, like I'm mechanical and I like challenges, like how to fix things or say like on one call like the mic wasn't working right. So then you just do all this troubleshooting and try this and this. And I'm thinking, well, why in life am I afraid to fail? Because when I'm doing these things, I don't even think it's failure. I mean, if it was fail, I'd just say, oh, the mic doesn't work, that's it, and quit.
Yes.
But I don't. I'm like persistent and try every single freaking angle there is. And that's what I'm learning to do in this. It's like, oh, I need to do this. Well, that's not working, so I'm going to try this angle. I'm going to try that angle, and it's
Yes.
fun instead of
Yes.
going, oh,
Yes.
oh, I hit the wall. I can't do this. And but
Yes.
no, it's because I have that. I've always thought that I have that brain that when there's something going on, I'm like, oh, you said this. Well, I'm trying to find all the loopholes. I can do it this way. I can do it this way. I can do it this way here.
Yeah, I understand that. I think a little outside the box too, and I'm always like, I don't want to color in that line. I want to do it my way. All right, sometimes it gets me in trouble too.
Yeah, I know.
There's a limit to how crazy Lisa can go. Like, all right, guys, reel her back in again.
No, it's
It's
all fun though.
good. I think it's important, right? I think it's important to have that creativity, to have that like joy of what you're doing, to see like that better future, to
Hmm.
really be excited about the next steps, right? And
Yeah, I
like,
am.
it's so important about like your focus. Like, if you're focusing on that negative,
Yeah,
that
no.
is what you're gonna get back. So like if
Right.
you're gonna worry about paying the bills, like you're gonna worry about paying the bills because
Right.
that's where you're putting your energy,
And
right?
you're
If
not
you
going to be
like,
able to pay the bills, and it's going to be the same. I read this one book, and it's called The Mountain Is You. And just the
okay,
title is alone says it all. I'm like the wall. I'm the mountain in front of me. I'm the reason I can't do it. It's nothing else. I am the mountain. And so
well, and isn't that like be the better version, like be a version better than you were yesterday.
yeah, yeah.
That's all you gotta do. I mean, nobody's expecting you ain't freaking Jesus, like nobody's expecting to be perfect. We're all about
Right.
this human condition. We all
Right.
have these emotions that like come up. You can't control your emotions, you can control your feelings,
You're right,
but your
exactly.
emotions are automatic.
Right, right.
Stuff comes up, it's gonna come up. That's life. We're humans,
It does.
you
Yeah,
know.
but it's your choice. A friend of mine said that you're responsible to turn everything in your life into a blessing. And when she said that, the light went on in my head. I go, ah, it was for some reason it resonated with me. So I'm
This is
responsible
good,
for
I
that.
think.
Yeah, oh shit, I'm responsible. It's my if it's not a blessing, it's because didn't. It's because of me, not because of what happened. Because I didn't do my responsibility. Well, like,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and really, the other thing that's really helped me is really doing some healing work on like stuff that were past traumas. Like there were things that had happened, and so instead of being like hurt or mad by them anymore, I utilize that Ho'oponopono that Tony teaches about, which is like it's a Hawaiian mantra, you know,
mhm,
or forgiveness prayer. And you say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I thank you, I love you.
mhm,
And you say that like to the child. So like if I have something that triggers me, I go like, oh, okay, I remember the first time I felt that way. And I think of back to as a kid, and I just kind of think of that kid and hug that kid and be like, okay, you had no idea what was going on. You had
mhm.
no idea. And I just say that mantra to myself like 3 or 4 times. Oh my gosh, that is another one of those game changing like
Oh
things that you feel
wow.
like you can let go of so much of like any pain. You're just like, so you know, pretty soon you get a lot lighter and you're like, it's actually pretty good.
You're killing me. I
I
love
love
it
it.
because I'm totally resonating with you because I know exactly how, and you're sharing things that you've found that are and that help you, and that's what I do too. So hey, this helped me. Hey, you try this. This really worked for me.
Totally. John, you're awesome. I'm so appreciative
Oh,
for
I'm so
your
happy I met you, Lisa. This is awesome,
yeah,
and this is just the beginning. That's the good part.
absolutely. 100%. 100%.
And
Um,
there's a whole network out there,
yeah.
and
Yeah. I love it.
it's the best.
I love it.
So,
Awesome.
um, geez, it's been over an hour.
I know. Chatting. What
Um,
happens when you're like around other growth people? You're like, yes,
but-
this is awesome. We're
and
doing things, we're like
and
learning, changing it. Our life is going to be better tomorrow because of today.
exactly. It's just it's funny. It's great. It's awesome. I so appreciate that you've done this with me, and well, no, not that we've done this together, and to showcase for everyone to see. You know, you get in the bring your boat in the water. If all boats rise with the tide,
Yeah,
you have to put
let's
your boat
go.
in the water. If you don't put your boat in the water, you're not going to rise with the tide.
Yeah,
So
it's a little hard. Oh,
and yeah, it's a little hard. And the
I
momentum,
mean, you could just jump in the water and you're going to rise with the
right?
tide.
Just jump
So I guess
in.
there's that, right?
Yeah, you have to. And when you jump in, you go with the flow of the river, and you're not just sitting there watching all the boats go by.
We'll catch you.
So,
We'll get you. We'll get you on the
yeah,
boat.
yeah, we'll get you. It's a warm, loving family here. Everyone's supportive.
Seriously. And
Yeah.
I hope more people jump on with you because I love what you're doing and I'm so excited and
Oh, I am
it's
too.
great.
This is the best. It's the best ever. Lisa, it's been my pleasure. And yeah, and definitely
I love it.
love it.
Definitely.
Thank
Have a
you.
great. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna end.